For this episode of Let's Talk Jinx, we're going to be talking about how Jinx in conception was going to be the ranged Udyr. So I want to give some context first in relation to like making League of Legends content in general, because it's going to relate to this in a second, and then the video is going to end with talking more about the ranged Udyr aspect that you probably clicked on this video for. So if you've been someone that's been around the channel for a while, and like let's say you wanted to do your own like Jinx or League of Legends content, some people in the past have, been Yi mains and Tryndamere players that even watch the channel and have had their own ideas for their own channels around their favorite champions. But like Scooch, for example, who stopped doing League of Legends specifically, as in the MOBA though, not like the universe of League of Legends. He'll return to like Project L and stuff too when that ever drops. He did a stream once talking about how to do like League thumbnails, and the idea of like, you basically want to kind of elicit curiosity in someone that sees your thumbnail, but you don't want to clickbait them in the sense that whatever they're clicking on the thumbnail for, you then want to deliver on that concept. That's the difference between, say, clickbaiting and sensationalization even, right? So for example, the title of this video might be how this champion was the ranged version of this champion, and the thumbnail might have outline of a champion that's darkened that you can't tell, so it elicits curiosity, and that works very well in the League of Legends niche if you're one of those people that are like, hey, maybe I want to do Jinx stuff too, and I want to do my own Jinx channel, and maybe something I'm not even covering, like Wild Rift. Wild Rift is something that people have asked me to cover. I can't seem to get it to work so far, but I'm still trying. Update on that. And so, like, for example, talking then about this, that's some ideas for thumbnails that you might see people do, and that's why, because as long as you deliver on what the person clicked on the video for, then it tends to be okay. If you don't, then it's clickbait. So with that being said, to move into the Udyr topic, for those that are newer players that didn't know this, we've mentioned this before, but Jinx in conception, the idea was she was going to be a ranged version of Udyr. Udyr, especially now that he's been reworked though, he's still generally the same in sense of his different buttons have different stances that then let him do different things. And so for Jinx, the idea was each of her different buttons was going to be a different gun. And that idea kind of still persisted with current Jinx as it is, but it was going to be pushed a little bit more than it was. Like her code name in development was Psycho Arsenal for a reason. The Arsenal part was going to be, you had the minigun, you had the rocket launcher, you have the shock pistol, Zapper, that's still a thing on the W as a matter of fact. But even more guns, so like her ultimate and then her flame chompers might have also been guns. I don't have the specific data to show in the video, and I don't want to falsify and say something that I'm just speculating, but that was the actual idea though. It was like she was gonna have like at least like 4 guns, and should like stance swap. She'd do like have a minigun stance, and then the minigun would have different abilities. She'd have a rocket launcher stance, and the rocket launcher would have different abilities. I'm guessing maybe the Super Mega Death Rocket would have stayed as an idea because every champion needs kind of an ultimate, and back then not a lot of champions had the form swapping thing as nailed down as champions that come out with it nowadays seem to, but who knows. But now what I'm going to pitch to you is, given Udyr and how Udyr's turned out, especially post rework, not do you think that Jinx needs a rework, but if you think that idea would have been pushed, what kind of like craziness do you think Jinx would have ended up on? So for example, if she had like a minigun stance, would the other abilities be other abilities that feed the minigun stance? Kind of the way like a Phelios maybe works, you could say. So Jinx would have probably been a lot more complicated of an AD carry, which might have made her like more broken. Fun fact for another one for those that don't know, when Jinx was released, on release Jinx, like most champions, was extremely overtuned, and she could out jungle Lee Sin. And Lee Sin at the time was like the jungler of League of Legends. Like he was like the top dog. If you were jungling in any queue or in pro, you wanted to play Lee Sin. And Jinx came out, and on-release Jinx could out jungle Lee Sin, and it was a very interesting and entertaining of a time. But yeah, so if Jinx was like form swapping ranged Udyr, true to like Udyr is, and so like the minigun maybe had, of course, you swap to the minigun, and then maybe one ability, like maybe that's what the passives that were packed in the stuff were originally going to be. Because League was a little bit more simplistic than essays per tooltips after all. So maybe instead of having the ramping attack speed and the the 3 stacks at one point and stuff like that, those are gonna be the different buttons you pressed while in minigun form. So in minigun form, hey, if you wanted more attack speed, you do this one. And if you wanted in the rocket form, the AoE maybe was a different button. So there was auto attacks, and then there was, oh, I'm using the actual range AoE 20 mana version, the shock pistol. Maybe one version slowed, and maybe at max range, if you hit a different ability, it would stun. I don't know, I'm making stuff up at this point. But yeah, go crazy within the comment section and have a conversation with each other, because that's part of what this channel always was a conversation for everybody else with everybody else too. So thank you so much for watching this video. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the bell notification, the actual subscribe button. But I don't know which video will be next, because life can have a lot of kinks. So until this time, take care. ggGetJinxed. Thank you for watching, and enjoy pizza responsibly.